Hello, this is Ken Masson. I am the president of the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy, and we have a couple of very interesting people and a couple of and several interesting topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about inclusive education. And Felicia and I met each other basically through a inclusive education summit that we did together. And we're going to do another one at some point, but I learned from working with her just how fabulous a person she is and how much she's dedicated to inclusive education. So that's what we really want to talk about today is inclusive education. So let's first start with introductions. Felicia, if you could, why don't you tell us about who you are and your life story, and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you so much, Ken, for making this possible, and thank you for inviting us to this live show. Obviously, when we are nervous, we tend to speak a lot faster. So being a live event is also a little bit pressure for us. Even I've been in special needs education and I've been teaching for 28 years and been also the head of the school. Still, you have that, pressure on you have to speak in front of the audience. So as I said, and you said about yourself, my background is from education and leadership as well. Not many people know, but I have graduated first in engineering university, and then after that I fall in love with teaching. So I switched to teaching, and then I completed my master's in autism at the University of Birmingham. I've also been the head of post-16 and post-19 provision in one of the schools in the UK, and our school has been outstanding a couple of times, and also a center for training teachers in inclusive education. So we have teacher students coming from the University of Winchester to do a module in inclusion in our school. Obviously, my passion for education stems from special needs education, from the fact that those children, they have so much potential, and then how can we actually uncover this potential and make it, unlock it, and change basically the future that they could have. So on the back of this work, I have started my thesis. During my thesis, I came across to measuring the effectiveness of information technology in developing communication skills. And that's from there started a lot of passion about research and how can we more delve into and come with solutions. But I will talk about my challenges a little bit more later. I would say that I will hand the microphone to Steve, our co-founder.
Hi, I'm Steve. So I lead product development at PAGS. So it's my job to speak with our users, to look at the market and try to make PAGS the best possible product it can be. I've had quite an interesting journey of what led me to PAGS. I originally was a teacher as well, and I taught on the games design course, which, as you can imagine, attracted hundreds of students with a lot of special educational needs. And really, I was taught to be a teacher, and it was quite a difficult situation to be in to try and help those learners. As a teacher, I could spot the barriers to learning, but I really wasn't trained in special education and how to address those needs. So I eventually left teaching and got into product development and product management. And when I seen the opportunity to go work with Felicia, it felt like I was given the opportunity to try and right some of the issues of the past and help teachers who were in the same situation as myself. So it's a fantastic opportunity to work with PAGS, and really we're so excited to actually make an impact with schools and with the learners themselves, because that's why we're doing it.
Oh, super. And I appreciate what the two of you are doing and the company that you've created for it. I'm not an educator, so I'm looking forward to learning from this conversation today. I'm a president of a club. That's what makes me a generalist. So let's talk about then your company. The both of you are founders of this company. And let's go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Now, I was just going to say, when we just go back to day one and how you got it started, and what created in you the need to have this company and that kind of stuff.
The company started in 2020. So I started basically in the UK, and how that stemmed from, again, from the passion of bringing a solution to the teacher. So I was teaching at the time, and I was looking for a solution that will help teachers like myself set smart targets. So on the basis of that, I of course, embracing the research that I'd done previously, I looked at what can we do to help teachers like myself set smart targets, and meaning that I was teaching 3 groups of students in the same classroom. So I had profound and multiple difficulties, I have moderate learning difficulties, and also high functioning. And for me, my challenge was to set smart targets, but at the same time, what do I need to do in my class to be able to make this reasonable accommodation and bring the strategies and intervention and adapt curriculum at the same time to teach them. And I was running with papers around to the advisory teachers and to get the advice from them. And I said, come in the classroom and make an observation. And the child was very good, so we're not doing anything. So why are you asking me to come in the classroom? So therefore I think I'm speaking to millions of teachers. I'm hoping that they will listen to this. Every teacher has a challenge to understand those needs and to be able to meet them. And even we have a lot of experience, like after 28 years, 30 years in education, now I can see those. I'm speaking about the young teacher, that we know the teaching profession is a very difficult one. And to get into that and to stay into the job, you have to face a lot of challenges. Not only that, you have to perform and bring extraordinary results to be compensated, I will say, and to feel valued for all your work. But at the same time, you have to deal with inclusion and dealing with children that basically, on the spot, you have to help them. So long story short is that was I was looking for, a solution that will help teachers like myself. So therefore we funded a company that developed a software, and the software is called PAGS, Profile Assessment and Goal Setting. And again, the goal setting, that it was my mind in the early years. And then we have looked at in setting up the software, what is actually already worked. So we looked at cognitive development theory, pedagogies that are still studied at the university. And also we looked at the child development, learning styles, everything that will gear us to understand what competencies will children need to be developed by a certain age to be able to access the curriculum, to be able to access any academic curriculum. So therefore, in that work, I also try to bridge to what is happening in the classroom, because in the classroom is very different from the academic work. So you face different challenges, which are, the micro, you go for the macro, you go to micro. So you actually have to be able to deploy those strategies and to be able to measure those interventions. So this is how PAGS was born, from our mission to make special needs education available to everyone, to multiply basically my work to thousands of educators like we have today in the platform, and also to bring solutions that will reduce the workload, the administrative burdens, and also taking that knowledge and put them into practice, which this is where we know that we spend most of our time designing PowerPoints, work plans, worksheets that will be able to accommodate those children. So I thought that it's a long story, but this is basically our story.
And Steve, you have thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I think when I kind of joined PAGS, we had already a fantastic kind of basis for the assessments, and it was really building on that platform to help us get to that product market fit. So I had to look at what was being used by the customers, the schools, the Senkos, and really what were the core problems. Because when you chat with users and get feedback, it's often they'll solutionize for you. And what I help PAGs really do is focus on those underlying problems, and through various feedback sessions and user interviews, really drill down to what actually was the driver for those presented solutions by people. And that's really helped us make a lot of progress, uncovering that there's a bit of friction between the special education needs guys and the teachers, when, really we weren't aware of that problem before. We were focused on doing the assessments, setting the goals and the targets, and then tracking those. But actually, there's all these other problems which needed, addressing to create a fantastic user experience. So that's kind of where I came into PAGs. And yeah, we've been on a fantastic journey over the last few years and have really made huge strides forward.
Yeah, that's super. And to me, if I think about the people in my past life, the ones that stand out are the teachers. So, focusing on the teachers is so critical to development of a child and the development of the world. So let me get clear. What is your target market? Is it the teachers? Is it the policymakers? Is it the curriculum makers? What is the target market?
This is a very interesting question, Ken, because ultimately we want to help everyone in this journey. And then we start with the teachers, because I've been teaching myself. So therefore, that's our core mission. But also the special needs coordinator, which are named differently in different countries, because we work with three different continents, I would say. So in the UK, Belgium, UAE, Kenya, so we have other schools joining from there. So, and we work also with leadership team. So we want to provide data to all those people involved, and ultimately to help the child and the parents understanding the journey of the child. So you can imagine that there are lots of stakeholders, and this is what we face in education, and especially in inclusive education, in special needs education, I would say, not necessarily in inclusive education, that we work with specialists from different fields, and everybody has their own way of working, but we are all looking at the same child. So therefore, working in the silos is not helping the child at the end. So breaking these silos is really taking effort, because it's sharing good practice, sharing targets and strategies, sharing that expertise in between, and bringing that community together. So I'm speaking for the teachers, because I've been teaching myself, and I wanted their life to be easier than it was mine at the time, to be able to multiply, so basically to scale up all the inclusive education coordinator or special needs coordinator SENCOs that we have in the UK, to be able to multiply their work and to empower the teachers with those strategies. And at the same time, for the school leaders to be able to provide that information. How is my attendance going? How is my attainments going for this population? How are the children? Are they happy? Are they coming to school? Are they having behavior problems? Are they having SEN problems? And the parents to be informed at all the time, where is my child going in this journey? Is the child needed a special education plan, like we have in the UK, education and health and care plan? That means we'll need more expertise to go in. That's why when we had the conference, I was so happy to lead the panel, which was making the difference in between what is inclusive education versus to special needs education, and at what point the school can say that actually I can meet your needs up to this point, and then we'll need more focused therapy, specialist intervention going into the special needs intervention. And we work on the economy basis, so we know how much effort is going and finances in both in the mainstream schools and also in the special needs schools. So to make that executive decision, an economic decision from that point of view, in the best interest of the child. Okay. Long story.
That was very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's really hard because, within schools, the percentages change, country to country, but on average, it's around 15% of all students have special education needs. And, when a child is in the classroom, if they do have SEN needs, there's multiple people involved with that education journey for that child. So yeah, our target is pretty much every school. We try to push early intervention and early identification of those needs, because then you can get a plan put in place, and that can have a huge impact on the overall education. You know, getting things in place early is key. So we go after primary schools, but also secondary schools as well. And really, you have alternative provisions and specialist schools, which, you know, are there to cater for special education needs as well. So yeah, it's pretty much targeting all educational institutions.
And are you talking globally?
Yes, we are talking globally. And when you mention inclusive education, policymakers, governments as well, it is this decision making and this policy that we would like to influence in the future. So I think it's really paramount, and I'm talking about other countries as well, where inclusive education has been, and then we are very I would say privileged and honored to lead an Erasmus Plus project, which is looking at employment side, which is looking, you know, when you have a special need, it doesn't finish in 10 years time. It might stay with you for your as long as you live. Autism is lifelong condition, so it's going to stay with you forever. So therefore, it's not looking at what is needing in the classroom, but actually equipping them with the skills that will be needing later when you search for a job and you want to be in that job. And not only that you want to be in that job, you want to keep that job. And because your quality of life would be different once you have an income, your self-esteem, your confidence will be. So we are looking at influencing these policies in the long term as well. So in our Erasmus Plus project, which is called Autism Spectrum Pathways.eu, we have open free resources that can be downloaded and can be seen by everyone. We talk about an employment guide that will guide the employers and vocational schools of how to train those students when they apply for a job, digital training program to train them to get there, and at the same time where to find offices or to find this information that is needed when to transition from one country to another. So that's why we talk global. So we talk about influencing all these policymakers and making that stamp, I would say, for the future.
If you get yourself into an employment, I have a club member I think I should connect you with. So who's actually he's living in Madrid right now, so not too far away from you.
Wow.
So that's a whole nother subject, but God bless you for getting into the employment part of things too, because that's another important life-changing event in people's lives. So I was getting into the global thing because it's complicated when you go global.
Yes.
Some areas, some countries are more advanced in inclusive education, some are not. So how are you going to match all those needs?
Well, the curriculums are very different, but actually the approach to SEN and inclusivity is still quite early on. There are guides by the government, but everyone seems to be just finding the right way, their own way to do things. And everyone's looking for support. And that's really what we can do. There are guidelines being put in place, but nothing as solid as, say, the curriculum right now. So yeah, we're global because we can help out in many ways. PAGS in itself is about identifying and surfacing those hidden developmental gaps, and then putting a kind of plan in place to address them. Because unless you are addressing those actual early gaps, they're never going to improve. From a curriculum perspective, you could say, well, they're not doing very well in maths. Let's put extra math lessons on. But if they don't have the skills to actually sit and communicate and learn, then it doesn't matter how many math lessons you put in place. So we really have an opportunity to help shape things, and we're trying to do that by sharing best practice. We're very, very kind of open with all of our users, and this is one of the things that I feel people gravitate towards, is that we have a platform and it's not fully fixed. We're trying to continuously improve it, and we only do that by collaboration.
Right, exactly. So let's kind of walk through your product or products. Is it you consider yourself have a product, or you have products?
It's a platform. We have multiple features, but we don't kind of sell individual products as such. It's just the platform.
Okay, got it. So what are the different aspects of it? I mean, a school is interested in parts of it, but not all of it. So can you kind of walk us through that?
Sure, yeah. The first thing is we start with assessments. There are tools out there where you just have a big bank of targets that you can pick from. But how do you know you're picking the correct target? And that was one of the key drivers. Felicia will explain in much more detail about that, but that was one of the key drivers. You can't set targets unless you baseline and understand what the needs of the learner are. So we have 4 different assessments, and those assessments are linked to the best practice, the best academic theory there is. So you take the assessment. Based upon the results of that assessment, we present priority targets, and we'll pick the target which is going to, address the earliest need and the most key need first. We then allow users to track and record progress against all of those targets. And one of the key things is we then tell them, strategies, exercises, and provide resources on how to help that learner achieve that target. And that process is super important, because it's not just giving people one part of the way forward, it's giving them the full journey. All of the teachers are experts, all of the special education needs coordinators are experts in this field, and we're just there to give them the tools to make their expertise more useful. Try to remove that admin time and try to give them the time they need to actually make a difference with their learners. We've got lots of other features as well, which make for planning and kind of using those targets in a much better way. But really the core is taking the assessments, setting the targets, recording, and then we have a whole host of reports and things like that, like dashboards and all of that cool, funky stuff that people love to click with.
Okay. So this might be kind of a loaded question, or maybe it's not. But in your journey on this, what have you found is where a lot of inclusive education is failing?
Good question.
That's why I said it's a loaded question, and maybe it doesn't have one answer. But you obviously, when you designed all this, said, okay, these are the needs, and these are probably the most needs out there, and so we're going to try to help to solve those needs.
Yes, it is a loaded question, and I only worked in outstanding schools, so therefore everything that we try to put in the platform, it is based on outstanding and best practices as a code of practice on 2015. So therefore, when we looked at, in the UK, we had the P levels. So we scraped the P levels with the Rutherford report, and we look at what kind of other ways we can assess the child to actually show the small step progress that the child is making. So therefore, I'm assuming that, when I go into a school that there are outstanding practices as I used to work with, and I've been 3 times under the Ofsted inspection. So therefore, I have came across to all those questions. What is the quality of teaching? What is the leadership? What is the governance? What is the relationship with the parents and the community? So therefore, what we try to provide, and it's really, really amazing once you start answering the questions, for instance, on impacts, because you are looking at the child from a different perspective. And that's what is looking at the relationship that is in between the teacher or the key tutor and the child, or even the parent can interfere. Or all those questions actually are gathering important data, and that will reflect, in how well the school is understanding inclusion and moving inclusion forward. So we came across to the fact that, and we that needs more training. There is more training needed in the school to understand how inclusion works about. Because as you said, there are different standards in different countries, and we want to be global. So therefore, we then design another course that is looking only at inclusion practices, embracing neurodiversity in your classroom. So then when we back to everything that we design is about those psychometric tests, which they've been validated by the University and College of London. They've been cross-examined with standardized questionnaires that are the most used in the field of education and technology. And I can name them. We have a PACS Genesis document as well. So those valid information that you come from PACS, and we are the first assessment to turn actually a questionnaire into a profile and to show where it is. So we had a review from the international dyslexia expert, Professor Angela Fawcett. She was saying that you are the first one to turn a questionnaire into a profile and to actually show where developmentally that child is. I'm really passionate about this because there's a difference in between developmental level and then chronological age. And when you bring this onto a visual map, everybody says, okay, where do I have to start? And then we guide them where to start, because we introduce machine learning and algorithms there that can actually help you to get better to the root of those problems. So I was speaking today with a head of inclusion in the school, and he was saying that, yes, but they want targets about increasing seating tolerance. And I say, why? Increasing seating tolerance. Am I asking the child to sit nicely, or am I asking the child to listen? I could sit nicely and not listen anything. So, but I could also do something else or fidgeting, but I still listen or walk around. I can still listen. And how do I check if the child is listening? By asking pertinent questions. If I have pertinent questions, then I understand how the child. So you see, it all stems from the fact how well the school is leading the inclusion. Inclusion is really a nice concept, I would say. It's still to be worked on, even in advanced countries. So I wouldn't name any countries now, because we do have statistical analysis and proposal. The good thing is that PACS goes alongside and can work with any curriculum in any language, because we have multi-languages as well, and lives in the cloud. That means can be accessed by anywhere in the world, which is again amazing. But what we actually try also to understand the local problems and how to meet the needs of those schools, and sometimes to make those accommodations that they needed. Yeah. But overall, it stems from the fact that, long story short, stems from the fact that ultimately we want to help the child.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And that's, I think, what everybody in the education field wants to do, is help that child. So it's all a passion that everybody shares. So maybe I'm naive on this question, but so you developed the software, and I have a school system, and the school system would purchase the software, or the school would purchase the software, depending on who we're talking to. Is that a software that they download into their system, or is it something that you had mentioned it's on the cloud? So
it's on the cloud. Yeah, we just give them access. So schools would pay X amount, and they would then have, the ability to add all of their learners, add as many staff members as they want to be able to access the platform. The PACS assessments themselves are taken on behalf of the learners. The learners don't actually take them themselves, because the actual assessments need to be completed by someone who knows the child and can observe them and say they do this or they don't do this. A lot of the questions are competency based. Can the learner do X? So it's really important that they know that. So yeah, we're a cloud-based platform that we would add an organization and then just give them access, user accounts and credentials to log in.
Okay, great. So that makes it very easy for them, because then they don't need to have their own resources or bandwidth or whatever it might need be to run it.
That's
So,
it. We connect as well. I mean, most schools have a big MIS system, like a management information system, where they manage all of their learners' details and things. And we try to connect with most of those through, this kind of middleware like Wand, which allows us to pull the learners' data directly from their systems. So it's all just there, ready to get going. They can just instantly get on, access the learners, and start taking assessments. So
okay.
it's
So,
great.
I mean, your target market, you say every school, but it's probably not. You have to have a school system that can work with your system. For
No,
example, I am in Colombia, in the villages of Colombia, you're not going to be able to use this system. So it's
yeah, you just need access to a computer. We
okay.
don't have to, connect with a different system. Our platform is actually so advanced; it's kind of halfway to an MIS in any case. You can use it to record things like grades. You can use it to record attendance, but that's not our wheelhouse. We see that information as contextual, and it's important to the overall education of the learner. It's not our focus. Our focus is on identifying their needs and putting a plan in place to address them. But we do have schools, using PAGs to manage all of their learners. But you are right. If they don't have computers, don't have internet access, they would struggle. However, Felicia did start with a paper-based assessment process, so we could send it over, I'm sure.
I mean, obviously, it would be great to serve everybody in the world, but there are
Yeah, of course,
limitations,
of course.
and no product should be universally good for everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know,
No, we
yeah.
have that slither. We've got a niche. We see it all schools because you can almost guarantee that every school is going to have a proportion of SEN learners within it. So, it varies greatly, country to country. Some say it's 16%. For instance, in the UK, it's grown continuously. Other countries, it's a bit lower, 10%. Other countries, they're quite far behind with really
Identify.
inclusion to be able to identify that, so they don't even have the stats. So yeah, it's quite hard to say. This is the percentage and target market we're actually after, but you can almost guarantee that every school has SEN learners.
Oh, okay,
I
great.
would love to hear what Professor Jovan Herreken from University and College of London was saying, that actually the ability to split and to have targets and to meet the needs of the special needs education, to meet them is paramount in the where we live now, where we are now. We're tracking how much intervention and how much budget is going into education and the health care plan, and then we can really help the user with all this, breaking down the targets, tracking the intervention, costing the intervention, being accountable for what you've done, being able to pull those reports at the click of a button. So we are really advanced for what is already existing into the education field. But our struggle is that sometimes people are doing their own way, or I have a Google sheet and then I'm spending my time updating that instead of actually informing everyone. So it's
Mhm.
just that mindset. How do we change that mindset of people that we can work actually smarter and economize the time and spend the time somewhere else, which will be more beneficial even for my mental health, as a teacher, than get burned out into planning endless hours and resources, which I can usually share with the others because we made this community available, sharing with the others and economize the time in that way, and then perhaps spend 1 hour in the gym or walking the dog.
Let me just take a few minutes here to do a little ad for the club. I'm going to run this across the bottom. I noticed I got Gmail typed wrong, but I'll fix that for the next time. But we're the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy. We are a global club. We are a virtual club. We focus on the human rights of people with disabilities around the world. And we're in actually at this point 23 countries and growing more every day. I get people want to be involved in what we're doing every day. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about what we do and maybe join on to our efforts, you can write to RotaryWDA at gmail.com. Okay, thank you. So let's see, I'll get back track of what you guys are doing here. So, and I had a great question, and that's probably gone. Because and Felicia, you know, I'm very global at this point. I really think very global, and I know you guys started in the UK, so that was your focus in the beginning. But now you are branching out to other areas. Oh, maybe it's got to do with training. I think when we did the summit, that subject of training kept coming up over and over again as being a very critical thing. What is the components of training in your program?
We have we've been really good. I would say that to have the expertise of super qualified people. So it's not a call, but it's really important member of our team. It's Josiane Pisani. She's been a teacher trainer working for executive training institutes in Malta. And I'm absolutely honored and humbled to work with her because I learned so much on how much expertise and effort is going in designing training modules. So she's been designing the training modules for the inclusion with another practitioner, Rebecca Hale, an absolutely outstanding practitioner in inclusive education. So we have a course design that can be taken by anybody in the world. It's called Embracing Neurodiversity, and then we can email all the information for there. It's a self-led course. That means you can take it in the comfort of your house, and you can split it into modules, and at the end is certified, is accredited, so you get a certification. But not the certification is most important is the knowledge that you take. You have small tasks that Josiane designed in there that you have to do to test your knowledge and to be able to verify what you have learned. As well as impacts, we develop like an academy, kind of training that goes alongside the technical parts of the platform, as well as the implementation and the methodology part of the platform. Because I keep saying this, you can be driving a very expensive car, but if you don't know how to drive it, you can have the driving skills, but you have to learn how to drive it. Then you say the car is not good. So therefore, you need to know how to drive it. So everything gears around learning. Is about ourselves, how open we are to learning, and do we actually know everything, or we are still learning? Because every time we learn. And Steve did an amazing job by updating all those videos. You can talk about more because you are featuring.
Yeah, I tried to. People will get sick of my face if they use the platform. I tried to kind of create a lot of videos to kind of guide users throughout the platform. One of the biggest focuses I had was removing the difficulty from the platform, making it very intuitive, and really kind of working on the UX of the platform. So even people who don't have a huge amount of knowledge can go into the platform and actually make progress. So we've done that by implementing really obvious things. For instance, beside each assessment, having a little tooltip where if you click it, it explains very concisely what you're assessing and why you would be assessing. The other things like leading people. So we've got another tooltip which will pop up when you log into the platform saying, if you don't know where to start, are you experiencing behavior issues, or are you looking to improve attainment, the grades of the learner? And based upon that kind of response, we can then guide them on which assessment to take. So we've taken very small, but they've had impactful, should we say, steps to try and guide users to make it, as simple as possible, regardless of the knowledge that the user has. We are based, and we do target professionals in the area, so that makes it a lot easier. We're not starting from, complete lack of knowledge. Most people who are using the platform are special education needs coordinators and teachers, so they're very familiar with the terminologies and the acronyms which always appear in every platform. They already know that. So we try our best to educate them, and through webinars that we regularly put on, we're trying to position ourselves as one of the leaders within SEN to try and help bring everyone together and share best practice.
And
Okay, so
sorry, I
go
will
ahead.
add, Amelia, really important that in this in all this journey that we are supported by one of the most known philanthropic foundation in Belgium, which is called Foundation Marie Marguerite de la Croix. So they recently organized an autism conference where they brought professors from Toronto, from Canada, from US, from the UK, from all parts of the world to bring the latest expertise and research that is existing in education, in autism, in autism field. So I feel really honored to meet again Connie Kasari, Professor Helen Tager-Flosterberg. So all these names that actually really, really important resonates with the world of education. So I think in this journey, you really need to be supported, and we've been, I would say, in this field, we still need support, and we'll be needing support more in the future to grow. But at the same time, we are open to all the schools that could take our platform will help us to grow as a company, because any company we are still a company that we have to grow, and this coefficient of growth, it is in our strategies and how to reach further in this field.
Okay, great. A couple of other questions before we wrap this up, but first of all, we're talking about inclusive education, and the focus is inclusive education for children with disabilities or in general?
In general, yeah. It's not specifically down to a single disability. You can have various behaviors kind of lead you to kind of understanding that there's something more at play. So for instance, special education needs can surface in behavioral issues. You can identify it through different communication ways. If they're not attending school and there's an avoidance there, there's usually some underlying cause. Children aren't bad. There's no bad children out there. And when they are reacting or behaving in a bad manner within the school, there's usually some root cause. And that's what we're there to help do. One of the biggest problems we find in education, and this kind of leads to what you were asking before about, are there any commonalities and within, inclusion or bad things which are happening? It's that people are treated generic, and some of the plans we put in place are generic because that assessment isn't happening. And there's huge waiting and backlogs across the world. It's in every country. Because we're getting better at identifying special education needs, they then need to go see educational psychologists, and there's backlogs, and those backlogs are getting bigger and bigger. And because a lot of those learners are waiting to be, assessed and diagnosed, often plans aren't being put in place, and you're losing time. It's easy to say, oh, it's only 6 months, but that's huge. We're only in education for a few years, which is a fraction of our life. So that has a huge impact. So it's really important that we get in and we diagnose them early. And you may not have a condition, you may not have a diagnosis, but there still can be issues which lead you. So it's important that people use assessments to find out what they are.
So I'm going to compliment in here how important it is for us to understand the child, to understand what's happening. So I'm going to quote here one of the directors of schools in Brussels, because we're in Belgium as well, that she was saying that we have everything, we have time. We have time for resources, we have time for this, but the only person who doesn't have the time is the child, because they are growing and they are coming out of the educational system and they miss all this.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And actually, when I was asking that question too, which is a super answer, I was thinking inclusive education is not just for children with disabilities; it's also for children without disabilities. So
Correct.
that's why I was wondering: are you thinking that too, as far as?
Yes, absolutely. So inclusive education is a broader range, yeah. So therefore, we are looking at any child who needs support, and if the support is not necessarily diagnosed, we are not a diagnostic tool, but we can lead to diagnosis. We can support that. But most importantly, is that we identify the issues and we start working with them as early as possible. I'm going to quote here the former president of the European Brain Council is Mary Baker. She's an OBE as well. And what she's saying is prevention is better than cure.
Very nice. Very good. So one other question. And are you groundbreaking what you're doing?
I would say yes, we are. I would even be brave to say that we are 10 years ahead of everything that is happening in the inclusive education world. It's just our hurdle is the fact that we are still a small company, we are a startup, so we are looking for in the future for social impact investors. We are looking for people who actually want to really make a print as a footprint in the future of these neurodiverse learners. And then we are not well known. We are not a brand yet company. So associating and now having a partnership with Iris Education, Iris Software Group from the UK is absolutely top for us, I would say, because we complement their portfolio. So we are now associated with a big player that is having already 12,000 schools in their system. It's a 4 billion company. I'm so honored, absolutely honored to work with them and to bring this solution to 12,000 schools that they have in the system. We're also looking at a collaboration with other MISs from other parts of the world, in Belgium as well as in UAE. I'm going to name them after we signed the agreement. But what is important is the fact that we are still to grow and people to trust us, who we are and what we do. Because I think paramount is that I've got confidence into a system that will deliver and will help me and will give me the trajectory. And this is where we are now working on it, on this brand awareness. We have a fantastic product and solution for the schools and an affordable place, and really helping the child and the parents ultimately to understand this journey. And then what we need is just that increasing confidence that in us as a company, that what we deliver is really outstanding.
Very good. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you guys, how do they do it?
Well, they can go to our website, which is www.pagsprofile.com. I'm on the chatbot, so you can send us an email at info@pagsprofile.com. I will close in here by saying that there are absolutely a lot of really great product in the world, and I'm sure that everybody put the power, the expertise, the money in producing a solution. I think what really stands out with us, we are a group of people, we are a team that really care about the school and about the customers, and they develop that relationship that we want to have, understanding their needs and being able to meet their needs. So anytime, please email us and get in touch with us. I will be very happy to take any calls and any emails from you at info@pagsprofile.com.
Okay, and when I put this up on YouTube too, I'll put your contact information on the bottom there. Or they can always write to the Rotary Club, RotaryWDA@gmail.com, and I'll put them in touch with you on that. And Steve, final words?
No, we're just really excited, to be honest. It feels like we're just starting to take off. Really, it's about making a difference to the education of the learners. It's fantastic to be part of a team where everyone's so focused on making a difference. So yeah, it's big things to come from PAGS.
And I want to talk to you guys too, because we're going to be doing other things, offshoots from the summit. But your product and your passion was so fascinating. I thought it would be good for the world to hear more about it. So I'm glad we gave you this opportunity and the world to hear more about it too. Hopefully, you'll be able to reach out to some more people. So much thank you. This will be posted on YouTube shortly, but it's also going to stay on Facebook and on LinkedIn as a recording for others to see afterwards. And thank you. And I wish everybody a good day, good night, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Bye.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone who listened this, and then I'm really looking forward to be in touch with you. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Steve.